All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into investment trends and strategies.
Yeah, sounds good.
Everyone wants to know what's moving and shaking in the
Of
market.
course, where the opportunities are.
Right, and how to, balance risk and reward.
Exactly. And we've got some really interesting sources for this deep dive.
Okay, cool.
We've got expert opinions.
Yeah, yeah.
Market data. We even got a glimpse into what Warren Buffett's thinking.
Oh, wow.
He seems to be sitting on a ton of cash right now.
Okay, so that's really interesting. What's he doing with all that cash?
Yeah.
Is he just waiting for, the perfect moment to buy? Or is it, is he being cautious about the market?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
And
we've got these contrasting views on the U.S. economy, too.
right.
Some experts are, super bullish.
Yeah.
And others are warning about all these risks, like inflation and tariffs.
Okay, so it's like a mixed bag right now.
It really is. Yeah, and that's what makes this deep dive so interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no easy answers.
Right.
And then on top of that, we have some sources talking about this potential decoupling between the U.S. and China.
Oh, wow.
With the U.S. trying to, build their own supply chains for, things like lithium and those rare earth elements.
Wow, so the U.S. is trying to go it alone on all these materials.
It seems that way, yeah.
But isn't that going to be a huge challenge, especially with China being the dominant player?
It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And the sources we have, they paint kind of a complex picture.
Really?
On one hand, there's this ambition to bring manufacturing back home.
Right, reshore everything.
Exactly, and reduce that reliance on China.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, the U.S. is facing these serious hurdles.
Okay, like what?
In terms of infrastructure, costs, expertise.
So it's not just digging a hole and, problem solved.
No, not at all.
There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, you got these economic and geopolitical things at play.
For sure, so much more complicated.
Yeah, and then there's this whole other thing we got to talk about.
Okay, what's that?
Overnight trading.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Apparently there's this upward trend happening while most of us are sleeping.
What? So I'm missing out on gains while I'm sleeping.
It seems that way.
Okay, I definitely want to know more about this.
Yeah, it's making me wonder if I am too.
So how does this even work? And is it, for everyone?
Well, it's not like a magic formula or anything.
Right.
It just shows you that markets are constantly moving.
Yeah.
Even when, the regular trading day is over.
Okay, that's interesting.
So we need to understand why these overnight gains are happening.
Yeah.
And, explore the strategies that come with that.
Let's get into that because I'm all about maximizing those returns.
For sure.
But before we get into specifics,
Yeah.
maybe we should step back and look at the big picture.
Okay.
What are the major forces shaping the markets right now?
Yeah, good point. The landscape is definitely shifting.
Okay.
And there's a lot of factors at play.
Like what?
We've got new political realities,
Uh-huh.
rapid advancements in AI,
Oh, yeah.
lingering economic uncertainties, like inflation,
Yeah.
potentially recession.
All right, so it's a little bit of everything.
It's a real mixed bag.
Yeah.
Opportunities and challenges all kind of rolled up into one.
Okay, so how do we navigate all of this?
Well, that's the tricky part. Navigating this environment, it requires careful assessment.
Yeah.
You got to look at the risks and the rewards.
Okay.
It's about finding the right balance, for your own personal goals
Yeah.
and your own risk tolerance.
So there's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, not at all.
Okay, so let's talk about that balance then. That risk-reward spectrum.
Yeah.
We've got Warren Buffett on one side,
Right.
who, seems to be playing it safe with this huge pile of cash.
Yeah.
And then you've got the whole meme stock frenzy on the other side.
Exactly.
Where people are chasing these high-risk, high-reward plays.
It's a whole different world.
So how do we make sense of all these different approaches?
It's a fascinating contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows you how different investors can be. So,
Right.
Buffett's strategy, from what we can tell,
Yeah.
it's all about longer-term value and stability.
Okay.
He's really meticulous
Yeah.
in his research, focusing on companies with strong fundamentals
Uh-huh.
and ones that can, get through economic storms.
Okay, so he's like the tortoise and the hare story.
Exactly. Slow and steady wins the race.
Right. But is that approach still relevant?
Yeah,
I mean, everything's moving so fast these days,
that's a great question.
especially with tech.
Yeah, and that's where, you have the debate between value investing
Uh-huh.
and growth investing.
Okay.
Growth investors are willing to take on more risk.
Okay.
They're betting on companies with disruptive potential.
Okay, so they're looking for the next Amazon
Exactly.
or Tesla or something like
Yeah,
that.
the companies that can redefine industries.
Right, but what about the risk? I mean, some of these companies have completely crashed and burned.
That's the nature of risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
The potential for big rewards often comes with a higher chance of losing money.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is, and that's why it's so important to diversify.
Right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Spread that risk around.
But how do you actually choose which approach is right for you?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
It depends on a few things,
Okay.
like your personality, your age, your financial goals.
Okay, so like if you're younger, you might be more okay with taking on more risk.
Exactly. You have more time to recover.
Right, but someone who's closer to retirement might want to play it a bit safer.
Exactly. They want to protect what they've already earned.
Okay, so there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
No, definitely not. It's all about tailoring your approach
Right.
to your own circumstances.
Okay, so let's dig deeper into these different approaches.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's start with, the Warren Buffett camp.
Yeah.
What can we learn from his strategy, especially now with that giant pile of cash he's sitting on?
Well, he's not just sitting on it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been making some moves. Like, he's been increasing his stake in Occidental Petroleum.
Occidental Petroleum. Okay, that's interesting. They're an oil and gas company, right?
That's right.
Not exactly, like a typical tech investment.
Yeah, and that's what makes him so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
He's looking for value where others might not see it.
Okay, so what does he see in Occidental?
Well, they're actually a major player in carbon capture technology,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which is a sector he thinks is going to be huge, long term,
So he's thinking way ahead.
always.
Okay, but how does this fit into like his whole risk-averse approach?
Well, it comes back to understanding value.
Okay.
He believes that Occidental is undervalued by the market,
Uh-huh.
especially, with this whole carbon capture potential.
Okay, so he's betting on the future of that sector.
Yeah, and the fact that it's becoming more and more important,
Right, with climate change and everything.
Exactly.
So even his like safe bets have some risk to them.
There's always some level of risk.
Right. It's not just about playing it totally safe.
It's about finding those opportunities that others are missing.
Okay, I like that approach. So let's switch gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Those high-risk, high-reward plays.
The meme stocks.
The meme stocks. Exactly. It's like the Wild West of
It
investing.
really is.
So unpredictable,
Yeah,
exciting, and kind of dangerous.
for sure.
So what can we learn from all of that?
I think it showed us the power of social media
Okay.
and, online communities.
Right.
When it comes to like driving market sentiment,
Okay.
you saw all these retail investors, like banding together, challenging Wall Street.
Right. It was like a financial revolution.
In a way it was.
Yeah.
And they were pushing these stock prices
Yeah.
to crazy levels.
Right. Sometimes it didn't even make sense.
Yeah, it seemed totally detached from,
Reality.
the fundamentals.
But it was exciting to watch.
It was very exciting.
Yeah. But it was also kind of a cautionary tale, right?
It was definitely a cautionary tale.
About, following the crowd and
Yeah.
making these impulsive decisions.
Absolutely. Some people made a ton of money,
Right.
but a lot of people got caught up in the hype
Yeah. And lost a lot of money.
and lost a lot.
Yeah.
So it just shows you that markets can be influenced by trends,
Yeah.
social trends, and speculative behavior.
Right. So it's a double-edged sword.
It really is.
Yeah. You can make a lot of money quickly.
Yeah.
But you can also lose a lot of money quickly.
Exactly. So it's more important than ever to
Mhm.
have knowledge and a clear strategy.
Okay. So let's bring this back to like our own investing.
Okay.
So we're trying to, figure out these trends and strategies.
Right.
And, after hearing all this about risk and reward,
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, like, how do you find that sweet spot?
Yeah.
That balance between potential growth
Right.
and protecting your money.
Well, it starts with understanding yourself.
Okay.
Your financial goals,
Yep.
your risk tolerance, your time horizon.
Right.
All of those factors will guide you towards, the right investments.
Okay. So let's say I'm a younger investor
Okay.
and I'm comfortable with some risk.
Hmm.
Where should I focus my attention?
Well, in your case, you might consider those high growth sectors.
Okay.
We've talked about the materials market,
Right.
which is being driven by, the demand for things like lithium.
Okay. For batteries.
Exactly. Copper for wiring rare earth elements for all sorts of technology.
Right. The materials that actually make all this tech work.
Exactly, those physical building blocks.
Yeah.
And that transition, to a more electric world
Uh-huh.
is creating a lot of opportunities.
Okay. So that's something to look into.
It definitely is. But even within those high growth sectors,
Yeah.
it's important to remember diversification
Okay.
because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. Even if it's a basket that seems like it's going to grow.
Exactly. Spread that risk around.
Okay. So how do you choose which companies to invest in?
That's where, the research comes in,
Right.
due diligence.
Oh, yeah.
You want to look for companies with a good track record,
Yep.
strong management teams,
Okay.
a clear vision for the future.
Okay.
You want to also consider things like
Yeah.
their environmental and social responsibility practices.
Right. Sustainability is a big deal.
It is, and it's becoming more important to investors.
Yeah. It's not just about making money anymore.
Yeah.
It's about, doing good for the world, too.
Exactly, and those factors can actually influence a company's success.
Okay. So it all ties together.
Yeah.
So what are some risks I should be aware of when it comes to materials?
Well, One key risk is geopolitical instability.
Okay.
We've talked about the U.S. trying to decouple from China,
Right.
but China still dominates the production of a lot of those materials.
Especially those rare earth elements.
Exactly. So even if the U.S., increases their own production,
Yeah.
they're still dependent on global supply chains.
Right. And those can be really fragile.
They're vulnerable to,
Politics.
political tensions, trade wars.
So many things can disrupt those supply chains.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then there's also the environmental impact of mining.
Right. That's a big one.
Yeah, it can be really damaging.
It can be to ecosystems communities.
Right, and that can lead to all sorts of problems.
It can lead to regulations,
Yeah.
damage the company's reputation.
So it's not just about finding the cheapest materials.
Yeah.
It's about finding companies that are doing it sustainably.
Exactly. And those considerations can affect a company's profitability.
Okay, so there's a lot to think about.
There is. It's not just about picking a random mining stock.
It's a whole process.
It really is. But for those who are willing to put in the time,
Yeah,
the rewards can be huge.
especially with demand growing like it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored materials.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about overnight trading.
Okay.
You mentioned these upward trends
Yeah.
happening outside of regular trading hours.
Right.
So what's driving that?
Well, one factor is, how interconnected global markets are.
Yeah.
So when the U.S. market closes, other markets are still open.
Right.
So things happening in Europe or Asia can affect the opening prices in the U.S.
So it's like a ripple effect.
It is.
Okay, but how can I take advantage of that?
Well, you don't have to be glued to your phone all night.
That's it, good.
You can automate your trades.
Oh, okay, so I can set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Okay, but how do I know which stocks are going to move overnight?
That's where you need to do your research.
Okay.
Look at market analysis, use technical tools.
Speaking of technical tools, what exactly is technical analysis?
So technical analysis is basically studying past market data,
Okay.
mainly price and volume.
Okay.
And you're trying to identify patterns and trends.
So you're trying to, like, predict the future
In a way, yeah.
by looking at the past?
Yeah, you're trying to see where the market might be heading.
But is it really that reliable?
Well, nobody can predict the future, for sure.
Right.
But it gives you valuable insights into market sentiment and, potential price movements.
So it's another piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And you can use it with fundamental analysis
Okay.
to make more informed decisions.
Okay, so it's like having an extra layer of information
It is.
to help you spot those patterns.
Yeah, and if you use it right,
Mm-hmm.
it can help you manage risk
Okay.
and find those good times to buy or sell.
So this sounds pretty complex.
It can be, yeah.
Like it takes a lot of expertise.
It does take some expertise,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of resources out there.
Okay.
Books, courses, software.
So it's accessible to anyone who wants to learn.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about risk management again.
Okay.
We've talked about diversification,
Right.
understanding your risk tolerance,
Yeah.
having an investment plan.
Uh-huh.
Anything
Well,
else?
staying informed is crucial.
Staying informed. Okay, but what do you mean by that?
It's more than just checking stock prices.
Okay.
It's about understanding the big picture.
So like the global economy.
Exactly. Geopolitical events,
Okay.
Industry trends, regulatory changes.
Right, so looking beyond just the individual stocks.
Exactly.
But how do you stay on top of all that information?
Well, it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because informed investors,
Yeah.
they make better decisions.
Okay.
And they can deal with market volatility better.
So like they don't panic when things go down.
Exactly. They can ride out those waves.
Okay.
And there are a lot of good resources out there.
Yeah.
Reliable financial news,
Yep.
industry publications, economic data.
So it's about finding the right sources of information.
Exactly. And creating your own personalized information stream.
Okay, so filtering out all the noise.
Yeah.
And focusing on what matters to me.
Exactly.
Okay, I see. So it's not just about picking stocks.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the whole market.
It's about seeing the big picture.
Yeah, and making decisions based on that knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Good. I'm glad.
So this deep dive has been amazing.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, we've covered so much.
We have, from the big trends to risk management.
Right, materials, overnight trading.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot, but it's been so good.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, so let's take a break.
Okay.
We'll be right back to talk about more specific strategies and tips
I'm good.
for navigating this crazy world of investing.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're back, and we've talked about the present of investing, but now I'm kind of curious about the future.
Yeah, the future of investing, it's a big question.
It is, and I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the answer might be right in front of us.
Okay, what do you mean?
We've talked about all these traditional approaches.
Right, value investing, growth investing, all that.
Exactly. But, investing is always changing.
Yeah, and we've talked about some of those changes like overnight trading and digital assets and all that.
Exactly. But what if the biggest change isn't a new technology or a new strategy?
Okay, I'm listening.
What if it's a change in
A
perspective?
change in perspective. Okay, I'm not sure I follow.
Think about it. For decades, investing has been based on certain assumptions
Okay, like what?
that returns are driven by financial metrics,
Okay.
that markets are rational and predictable,
Uh-huh.
that the experts are all on Wall Street.
So the old way of thinking.
Exactly, but what if those assumptions aren't true anymore?
Okay, so you're saying we need a new way of looking at things.
Yeah, a more holistic view,
Okay.
a more interconnected view.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
And we're already seeing signs of this shift.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, look at the meme stock thing.
Yeah.
It showed the power of social media and online communities.
Right, those everyday investors made a huge impact.
Exactly. They showed that the market can be influenced in new ways.
And then there's ESG investing,
Right.
where people are considering the impact of their investments.
Exactly. It's not just about profits anymore.
No, it's about values.
It is, and it's driving money towards companies that are doing good.
So it's like investing and activism are kind of blending together.
Yeah, in a way they are.
So this is all really interesting,
It is.
but it's also kind of overwhelming.
I understand.
If the old rules don't work anymore, how do we know what to do?
Well, there's no easy answer, but I
Right.
think it's all about learning and adapting.
Okay, so stay curious, stay informed.
Exactly, and be open to new ideas.
So basically embrace the unknown
Yeah, the future of investing is about challenging the old ways of thinking.
and being comfortable with change.
Exactly, because the market is constantly evolving.
And whoever can adapt to those changes will be successful.
That's the key.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation.
I'm glad you think so.
We've covered so much ground.
From the basics to the future.
It's been a deep dive, for sure.
It has, and I hope it's given you some valuable insights.
It definitely has. And to everyone listening out there, remember, investing is a journey.
It is.
So stay curious, stay informed, and never stop learning.
That's great advice.
And thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of investing.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy investing.